TFWA World Exhibition 2015 in Cannes, here at the Palais Festival for the opening conference.
Rudy Guiliani, please. Great to see you, Mr. Mayor.
It's a great pleasure to be here and to address you. I'm one of your biggest customers, so you should feel comfortable with me. Since the time related there, I've traveled to 65 countries, given over 1,000 speeches, been all over the world, consulted with 8 or 10 governments, and spend a great deal of time in your duty-free shops. Because I'm in the country so briefly, I have no chance to buy gifts for my wife, my daughters, who always expect something when I come home. So I thank you very, very much for being available. And if you ever want a critique of where I think the best duty-free shops are, I'm more than happy to give it to you privately. I'm gonna talk about leadership in the face of crisis and change, which we face right now and you face. And then I'll talk a little bit about the world situation. Leadership is extraordinarily important whenever you run any organization, no matter what the time, whether it's a good time or a bad time or an in-between time. But it certainly is very, very important when you're in the kind of confusing times we're in today. I don't know if we're living through bad times or good times. I think we're living through a period of time where we are in transition and we don't know where it's all going to end up. People ask me about the American election. I'm sure you will at some point a little later on, and all I can tell you is the rules of this election are different than the rules of prior elections, and it makes it very difficult to predict them because we don't completely understand the thinking of the electorate. How about this? I'm not sure the electorate completely understands what it's thinking because so much is changing in the world so quickly. So in a period of time like that, where there aren't an awful lot of constants, during the last 100 years, we've had some bedrock, consistent things that we could rely on. The Cold War gave us a tremendous potential for world disaster on a greater scale than even now, the destruction of the world. But it also gave us a sense of organization in that the United States and the Soviet Union were the two world powers, and you had a sense of what could happen based on that. China then emerged, and then you had the United States ascended for a long period of time, and now you have this period of transition that's going on. So leadership becomes even more important in a period like that. So I'm going to very briefly tell you what I think the 6 most important principles of leadership are. If you want to know the rest of them, think of that. They were first thinking of, if I go to New York, they can steal my wallet, they can steal my credit cards, they can steal my cash. That was the first thing that comes into their head. So if you're, part of what you have to do is brand identification. Remember, a lot of it for people in this busy age we live in, particularly the kind of businesses that you're involved in where people are rushing. They don't have much time. A lot of it is first thought and second thought. What's the first thing that comes into their mind about your brand? And what's the second thing that comes into their mind? Because they're not going to go to the third and the fourth. This is true, by the way, for politicians running for office. What's the first thing that comes into your mind about a particular candidate? That first thing, when it gets very, very strongly entrenched, is very hard to change. That's why if you ever run for office, The most important thing is to define yourself before your opponent defines you. And the same thing is true for a commercial brand. And that's why having a plan, having a set of ideas, and letting your employees know it is so important to leadership. So that's the number one principle. Have a goal, have a plan, and as a leader, you're responsible for that. If you don't know where you're going, nobody working for you knows where they're going. Number two, you've got to be an optimist. You always have to look on the bright side of things if you want to lead. People don't follow pessimists. All you're going to do is drag you, no matter how bad things are, if you give in to the pessimism, you're just going to drag everybody. It's important to go to a funeral down with you. It's more important to go to a funeral than a wedding, because a funeral is when people need you. And a wedding, it's nice if you go and it's respectful, but they can have a lot of fun without you. At a funeral, they really need you. So to me, that meant any organization I was in, when things went wrong, I was there to take the responsibility. Now, just a very brief little survey of the world and where I see things going in the next year. The next year in the United States will be a very turbulent year, because it will be a year of an election in which whomever the nominees are, and nobody knows yet, we do know the ideologies. The ideologies are in complete conflict with each other. The Democratic ideology is expressed by Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton is much more similar to the European socialism that you are used to. They would like to impose that on the United States. Universal health care, universal education through the college level, much higher levels of subsidies for poor people, and a lot more of a socialist economy. Bernie Sanders admits to being a socialist. Hillary Clinton some days is and some days isn't. Depends on the audience that she's talking to. But that's generally the direction they will go. They also believe in a much less interventionist America with a small army, a smaller military, and America should act only basically after the rest of the world has acted. Then we sort of follow behind. The Republican ideology is expressed by just about every one of the candidates is the complete opposite of that. Let's become more of an entrepreneurial society. Let's go back to the capitalism that made us the greatest country in the world, in which there are winners and losers, and people take great risk, and because of that they can accomplish great things. Because they see the value of making tremendous amounts of money, they invent drugs nobody else invents. Because they see the value of great acclaim and fortune, they invent technology that nobody else ever invented or thought about. An opportunity society. A society in which you move people out of poverty by giving them a good education, and you require them to work. You don't give people something for nothing. I made every person in New York City who got welfare work. If they didn't work privately, they worked for the city of New York. I do not believe in people getting anything for nothing. People should work for what they get. They should be brought up that way, and society should be structured on that. If society is paying you because you can't find a job, then you should be doing something for society in return for that. We should never leave in anybody's mind or heart or impression that they can get something for nothing. We should never let that go on into a second and a third generation. I had people in New York who never saw a father or mother go out to work.